go live everywhere else. Okay. Um, gonna remove X from the live stream, save changes. Looks like I'm live on Instagram, YouTube, and Facebook. Hopefully this looks decent. I'm gonna have to go back and look and see how this looks vertically. I have the option to go horizontal or vertical. Hopefully it looks okay. It's a little difficult. It doesn't let me have the option to do horizontal just for YouTube and then vertical for Facebook and Instagram. So if you're on Facebook or Instagram, bear with me. And I'm just going to share this. If you guys aren't part of the Millionaire Archives, I am going to see if I can actually. I'm going to invite everyone over there. Currently, it's our free school group. So if you're looking to like grow your audience, if you're looking to have more systems for creating content, all of that, feel free to go join the Millionaire Archives. It is on School and it is a free community. Probably gonna have to go back and update this link once it is done. But yeah, let's just jump into it. So basically, this process, if you didn't see from the title, has brought over $3 million into our business. And it's a lot simpler than you think it is, but it's also more work than you would probably like it to be. Of course, if it was easy, everyone would literally do it. Also, if you're watching here on TikTok, I have my iPad up. And if you want to see everything that I'm doing with my iPad, feel free to look at it on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook. So, number one thing here, just starting off, we're going to go for a funnel. And we're going to, at Laney Media, we primarily focus on having a funnel that is based off of social media. Cool. So just think of, man, my handwriting is horrendous today. Just think of everything like Instagram, YouTube, Facebook, TikTok, X. Think of all of that being your funnel. And at the top of your funnel, you're going to have views. This is pretty much the same across every platform. X and Threads might be a little bit different if you're doing text or Facebook, but you kind of get an impression, or if you're doing Pinterest. But typically, views on a post or on a video, it's mostly the same across the majority of platforms. Below that, you have, typically speaking, you have profile views. And this is the same for most platforms. The other thing you could link in here, and like the most important, but the other thing you could link in, if you want to make that comparison, is from profile views, you could also say story views. Story views. And the reason for this, and the reason why story views and profile views are very similar, is when someone goes to your stories, they want to know more about who you are. They want a more personal connection. Same with your profile view. And the similarity is you can have a link going away from that platform on both profile views and stories. And, you can kind of include, if you're doing like reels, you can do like ManyChat automations or CTAs. That can be a great way. And you can also kind of include, and when I really say reels, what we're really referring to is the DMs, because you're not sharing that really in the description of these. You're getting people into the DMs on Instagram. And all three of these are primarily only applicable to Instagram. But that's like your primary lead gen is through profile views, because then people will go to your link in bio. And a lot of people, they'll put a lot of different things in their link in bio. I recommend only having one link in bio. If you have more, and it's really tempting with Instagram, people will literally put dozens of links in their bio. Now, and when I say dozens, I usually mean 2 or 3. But every time you ask a end user, a consumer of your product or services, to make a decision, you have less people actually get through your funnel to the end. They're more likely to drop off. So that's really important to remember when you're designing your overall funnel. And I really recommend, like I said, that you only put one in there. And then on top of that, if you're creating organic content that's based on what you are selling. So if I'm talking about doing sales, if I help you with a sales process, my link in bio, if I'm selling that and I'm talking about that in my content, that would be a perfect thing where you really don't need an in-depth funnel, right? Now, if you're going viral a lot, let's say you might be on TikTok and you might, do some TikTok shop affiliate marketing. You might talk about your personal life a ton. There could be a lot of different things where a lot of the content or the majority of the views you're getting doesn't necessarily align. And that's when you need a little bit more of an in-depth sales page. And those are the other times where I'd also recommend, or if you have like two very different distinct offers, it's where I'd maybe recommend doing a link tree in your bio. But for the most of the time, one link, no link tree, goes to a sales page. And honestly, you can literally just have a calendar booking in here and you can kill it. You can get like 3% of people to opt into your calendar, and 80% of those people are going to be qualified leads from just the fact that you are posting about content that is related to your offer. I can't emphasize that much enough is that if your content is related to your offer, you are just absolutely going to kill it. Uh, cool. And this is like the overall like method that we use for lead gen. The next thing that we do, if we're actually looking at our sales process, and you want to understand your analytics, because if you're not doing it, someone else is. And sales is like it's like the blood of a business. It's the heart and the lungs. It's what really allows a business to continue growing, especially if you're service based. If you're e-commerce or you're doing it, a different type of business where you just have a landing page where people check out. This sales process isn't going to apply as much. You're really just looking at what your conversion rate is through this funnel, like what percentage of people go from views to profile views, and then what percentage of people, or your view to profile view conversion rate, or your profile view to link and bio conversion rate, and then your sales page, landing page conversion rate. Like those are the numbers you really want to be looking at and how you can increase those numbers and your views. I got a vertical page here. I do not want a vertical page. I want a horizontal page. Cool. So the next thing that you really want to look at, so you have, and from a metric standpoint here, sales metrics. The number one thing you want to look at starting is number of like sales calls booked, or we're just going to call it booked calls here. And within your organization or different organizations, or depending on what industry you're in, they'll call these like different things. But typically, like if you're just going from social media to your sales page, after you get past like looking at the traffic on that page, you want to look at the number of booked calls you get. Next most important metric is, again, you when it comes to all of these different things, usually you have a number, then you have a percentage, then you have another number. So you have your show rate. So this would be the percentage of people that actually show up. And then from there, you're gonna have another number, which again, you can call this live calls. Again, you might call this something else in your business. You might have different experience, but this is just the number of people that are actually showing up to your calls. So a good example of this, I keep on hitting the eraser. Let's say you get 10 booked calls. Your show rate is 80%, and 8 people show up. That's really good. And you really want this number right here. We can highlight this in red. You really want this number to be like between 60 and 80% realistic. To get above 80%, you really got to be on your A game. Your leads have to be quality, and even still, stuff comes up. People forget about calls. So you're gonna have a certain percentage. But if you're between, and 60s on the lower end, 70s pretty average. Goal is obviously 80 plus. But again, if you're at 80%, like don't kill yourself. There's other things you can usually do in your sales process that is worth your time rather than trying to get this from like 80% up to like 87. Now, obviously, everything helps, but usually there's better numbers you can focus on at that point than the effort it's going to take you to get that to be a lot better. Cool. So the next thing you really want to look at after live calls is, and again, depends on what you're selling. It depends on your industry. You might call these different things. But usually you look at offer rate. And this can be one of two different things. Uh, we kind of use it for the latter. Some people will technically only offer to people that are qualified and use it more as a qualified uh, or percentage of qualification. If like the vast majority of people, like 95% plus, are qualified for your goods or services that you are selling, uh, offer rate typically means, as a sales rep, did you pitch them or not? And this number should be as close to 100% as humanly possible. If it is less than like 80%, you have issues. Uh, but for all intents and purposes, we'll keep the math easy here. You'll have your offer rate, you'll have your offers. We'll say all 8 people came through. Your offer rate's 100%. You have 8 offers. Uh, but if this was like worse, let's say your offer rate was like 50%, you'd have 4 offers. And then you're going to have, and this is one of the most important numbers. This is your close rate. Industry standard, really, most people, and again, it depends what you sell. If you're like in high ticket informational services, coaching, a lot of times that will be around 25%. Now, it can be a lot higher. I have a sales rep this month that's closing at like 80, 90%. Last year during Black Friday, we had multiple reps selling hundreds of calls a month, and they were closing around 60%. And part of it, with organic content, it really depends where your leads are coming from. Certain platforms, you can get a lot more quality lead depending on how you're, getting your leads. So like organic, super high quality, you can close really high. If you're doing paid, your paid leads might not be as high. Cold outbound is usually a little bit less. And then affiliates, those can also be really high quality leads. And again, there's ways to get high quality leads from all of these. I'm just talking from my experience and what I've seen here. And then like number of closes. This is also important. So you have a 25% close rate, you're going to get 1 close off of 10 booked calls. And these numbers are really important. This is like, if you own a business and have people doing sales on the phone, you need to be looking at all of these numbers every single stinking day. I cannot emphasize how important it is. Because if you know these numbers in and out, again, like 25%, like you can up this to 50% and you go from 1 close to 2 closes. Makes a huge difference. The other thing you want to really look at too here is average cart or average contract value, ACV, because let's say you're doing high ticket and your average contract value is, let's say it's 10K. 1 sale, that's 10K. 2 sales, that's 20K, but you might sell one for 5K, one for 10K. Average contract value is 7,500, right? So this is really important to keep track of. And because you can have a lot of things. You can have sales reps. Like if you have like let's see if we can see over here. How far can we see? Okay, cool. You might have like a tier 1, a tier 2, and like a tier 3. I didn't get the E in there, right? And this might be like 5K, 10K, 20K, right? And it could be based off of where different businesses are at. And like you'll have like a distribution of leads that come in, but like you might have a sales rep that only ever pitches the 5K offer. And that's going to force your ACV down, right? And again, like I was saying up here, sometimes, as long as you're getting above that 60%, it doesn't always make sense to go there, because if you have a sales rep that isn't pitching above the 5K offer, they only always pitch the 5K offer. Huge difference. Huge difference. If you get them to actually start with the high ticket one, because there's a certain percentage of people who will always pay for the most because they like luxury, and then downsell from there, or if they actually do their job, ask the right questions, and get the person in the door for the right offer, makes a huge difference. And again, like you're going to have a probability. A certain percentage of people are going to be distributed across where they qualify for what programs that you have. And it is your job to train your sales reps to pitch for the right program. And secondly, start from the top, work their way down. There might be a reason they might qualify for your tier 3 program, but they might not have 20K, or this might not be the best time, or they want to put their feet in the water. And there could be a lot of good reasons to downsell to your tier 2 program or your tier 1 program. All right. It just really depends. Other really important metrics that you can that you really need to, if you're running your business and you want to make sure that you're not leaving money on the table. So ACV, cash collected amount. So like the percentage of cash you collect based off of your sales revenue. And that also leads me to the last really big one here that you want to follow, which is your sales revenue. Sales revenue, again, can't emphasize how much, like how important these little metrics are. It seems obvious, but people will not, track these numbers. And if you don't know these numbers, if you don't know how much revenue your sales team is bringing into your business, that is a really, really bad situation to be in. It's like getting on a sinking ship like Christopher Columbus in the 1400s, sailing out into the middle of ocean and having no idea where you are at. It's just mind-boggling. It is insane. And, if you track these things, it is going to make your life so much easier as a business owner. It's going to give you so much more confidence to know where you're at, any day of the month with your sales revenue. It's going to let you know if your business is in trouble, if sales are down, year over year, or if they're up year over year. These can be really good numbers to let you know where you are at. Last thing I want to go over on this training day is the sales pitch. And we're just going to go over here. Our 4 main points. The first one that happens is your introduction. And what you want to do during your introduction, most importantly, is you want to make sure if you can build rapport with your prospect. Examples are, if you've ever traveled to where they live or traveled to the same location, if you have similar hobbies. And a lot of this, like you can figure this out, like if you're getting an onboarding form from them and you have their social media, like you can go look at their social media and learn a lot about a person before actually hopping on the phone. You can talk to them, like maybe you look at their stories, you see that they're traveling. You can see if they have kids, if they have family, if they are posting about, college football and what's really popular and going on there. Like there's a lot of things you can do that will make a huge difference on you building rapport with them. And this makes a huge difference when you get to our last part here, the close. But it just makes everything go easier. The next part, and this should actually be about 50% of the call. It's going to look like 25%, but about 50% should be discovery. Especially if you're kind of like doing like a B2B, even like B2C offers, but just asking questions and identifying if they're a good fit for your program or service or if they are not. And, that's what it's going to appear that you are doing. And, that's the frame you want to maintain. But it also allows you to see what the real issues are and any objections that might come up later on. So after discovery, you're eventually going to get to the point about 50% of the way through the call where you're going to get to the pitch. And ideally, if you do a sales call and you have it dialed in, this is going to be a 60-minute sales call. So the first 30 minutes is just you getting to really know your prospect, know their needs, know what they're looking for, know what they've done in the past, what they're trying to do in the future, what their goals, what their hopes, what their aspirations are, and what they are really looking for from you and your company. After discovery, you're going to get to the pitch. And honestly, up until the pitch, It's all just kind of fun and games. And theoretically, you're not going to really get any objections until you get to the pitch. Now, when you are good at discovery and you've pitched a lot, you will understand and you'll be able to reframe things during uh, discovery that will make your pitch go a lot smoother. But until then, once you pitch and actually do the ask, say, hey, I'd like you to sign up for my program. That is when you get into objection handling and the close. Um, and this is like the last 25% of the call. And I say 25% because sometimes uh, it can take a little while. But at the end of the day, which you should really start this at the beginning of the day type deal, but if you're able to actually work with whoever's creating content for your business, whether it's yourself or the founder, or if there's a content team, if you can make sure that your content is dialed in, again, it aligns with what you're selling. And if you can do really good discovery and figure out what they need, and you do your research on your customer before you get on the call through whatever intake form you have, objection handling should really only be one or two things. And it should primarily be the close and or any onboarding steps that you need to take. So like all of our sales reps, when they make a close, they make sure that they get into the necessary systems and softwares that they need to, that we are providing to our clients, and that they have a brief orientation of everything they need before their onboarding call. So essentially we're onboarding them prior to them actually being onboarded. Reason for this, and if you actually learn psychologically speaking, it takes multiple times of telling someone information before they actually can retain it. And everything in your business, it might seem crystal clear to you, but they have never heard of this before. They don't know what your processes are. They don't know what you do, and none of it makes sense. So the more you repeat yourself, the higher probability of success that they're going to have coming through and gain your products or services from you. And that's it. That's our entire process. I hope you guys enjoyed this video and training. If you guys have any questions, please leave them down below in the comments, and I would be happy to get back to you. That's it, and have a great day, guys.